Alrighty guys, here we go. So if you have the little packet there on the derivatives of inverse functions, so if you see in the top box here, that's the rule. So g prime of x equals 1 over f prime of x. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to have examples that are going to tell you that like f is the inverse of g, or g is the inverse of f, or that kind of thing. And when it asks that kind of a question, you're going to use this rule. So let me just show you how it works. I think it's a little bit easier if I just explain it. So look at the first question. So I wrote it down, right? Now look at the top right-hand side of the screen. Do you see where it says f of 10 equals 1? So basically what that means is if you were using the function f when the x value is 10, then the right? Okay. Now, if g is the inverse of f, then that means, remember, inverse means you switch the x and the y. So then the point that we would use for g would be 1, 10, because we switched the x and the y coordinates around. Make sense? Okay. So then, if you look, they want you to find g prime of 1. Well, what I can do is, if you just look up at the original equation right up here, right? This is g prime, and so is this. And notice what they did was they said x is 1. Okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the formula down and say 1 over f prime. Now, here's the thing. For g, if you want to go again back over to, hold on one second, let me get my little pointer going here. Okay, back over to here. If g's x value is 1, then f's x value is 10. So then what I'm going to do is I am just going to put in a 10 here, okay? Because this corresponds to g's x value. This corresponds to f's x value. You follow? So then all I'm going to do now is I'm going to find f prime and plug in 10. So let me just take this down here. I probably should have written it somewhere else, sorry. And I'm going to find f prime. So f prime is 3x squared, right? Plus 7. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, oops, let's make that look like a plus, and I'm going to evaluate that at x equals 10. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 10 for x. I'm going to do 10 squared, which is 100, times 3, which is 300, plus 7 is 307. Okay, so then go back up to this right here. Okay. And then I can say, well, that's equal to 1 over 307. And there's your answer. Okay? All right. We'll do a few more so you kind of get, a better idea of how to do this. All right, so let's look at the second one. So here we go again. It says that g is the inverse of f. So right there, we're going to use that rule. Okay? So we're going to do g prime of x equals 1 over f prime of x. All right, so, well, we know that f of x is equal to x squared, right, plus 3. Okay, so then that would mean that f prime of x is going to equal to 2x, right? So I know that over here, then, I'm going to plug in 1 over, and then I know my f prime is 2x. Now, the thing is I'm going to have to plug in an x value for that to continue so that I can solve and get a numerical value. So let's go to the part where it says g prime of 4. Okay? So what that means, then, is for g, right, my x value is 4. They didn't give us the y value, now did they? All right, let's hold on. So then that means for f, that means the y value is going to be 4, and we don't know what the x value is, right? Okay. All right, well, the thing is they didn't give us an x value, but we do know that f of x is, here, let's write this, f of x is equal to x squared plus 3. And if we look down here, look, we know the y value is 4. So I'm going to go 4 equals x squared plus 3. And what this is going to do is going to give me my x value. Okay, so that's going to be 1. And then I know if I take the square root of that, I get 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that x value, I'm going to put it right there. So that's the x value for f, which means it's the y value for g, because they're inverses of each other. Okay? All right, so now let's go take those 2 points, these, right? And let's see which one of these we're going to use to put in right here. Well, since the formula is telling you that it's going to be f prime of x, then what we're going to do is we're going to use f prime's x value, which is right down here, which is 1. So we're going to plug in a 1 right there. Okay? So then we're going to get 1 over 2 times 1. So then our answer is 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to skip number 3 for a minute because I think 4 is more like 1 and 2. So I just kind of want to keep the consistency going here. All right, so now if you look at this one, so we have f of x, right? And that equals x cubed minus 7x squared plus 25x and minus 39. Okay, and we know here it says again that f and g are inverses of each other. So again, we're going to use that formula. Now it wants to know what g prime of 0 is. Okay, well, let's just start doing this actually. Let me just back up. We know we're going to have to take the derivative of this, right? So let's go ahead and take the derivative. Oops. All right, so that's going to be, that's nice. That's going to be 3x squared minus 14x, right? And then plus 25. Okay? All right. So now let's just go to the fact that they give you g prime of 0. So what that means is for g, my x value is 0, which means for f, my y value is 0. Okay, and I have that same issue that I had with number 2. They didn't give me an x value for f or a y value for g. Okay, now if I know that f is x cubed minus 7x plus 25 minus 39, and I know its y value is 0, in other words, I can set that equal to 0, then I can solve. Now, I don't know how to solve this algebraically. There isn't a way. So what you could do, well, there is, but we're not going to go into that. But what you could do, oops, I think I forgot the x there, didn't I? I did. Is go to your calculator, go into your y1, and you're going to type in this right here and just see where it hits the x-axis. Okay, because when something's equal to 0, that's where it hits the x-axis. It's 0. So if you do that, I'd like you to actually take the time and do that because you might have to do that on your AP. But it's x equals 3. Just take my word for it. Okay, so then that means I know that I can put a 3 up here as the y value for g and the x value for f. Okay, so now I'm going to apply the formula. So it wants me to do g prime of 0, which means 1 over f prime of f's x value, and f's x value is 3. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to plug it in there, and I'm going to see what I get. Okay, so then g prime of 0 is going to be equal to 1 over, and when you plug that in, by the way, it will be 10. So the answer is 1 over 10. All right, so let's now look at number 3. It's a little bit different. It does tell you that g inverse is the inverse of g. I'm looking below the chart there on the left. And it says to write an equation for the line tangent to the graph. So if you see on the left-hand side of the screen, I just wrote the equation for the tangent line. Okay. Now, it does say at x equals 2. But that's for the inverse. So look on the top right-hand side of the screen over here, okay? And I'm going to put a 2 there because the x value for the inverse is 2, which means then for the original, the y value is 2, okay? Once again, I don't have an x value for g, and I don't have then, therefore, a y value for g inverse. But you have a chart. So what you're going to do is, and this is going to be hard because I didn't write the whole chart down, but look down, look vertically down the G column, okay? Because I'm going to point up here, look, okay? Because the G's Y value is 2, so you go down the G column till you find the number 2. It's right there, it's right underneath G of X. See, the number 2 is right there. Then follow that over to the left, and you'll see the X value that corresponds with that is a 1. Okay, so that means I'm going to put a 1 here, which means the Y value for G inverse is a 1. Okay, so does that make sense? All right, so now I'm going to go back to the left-hand side of the screen over here where we have the tangent line. Well, we know that the X value is 2. Oops, I did it again. Okay, we know the X value is 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a minus 2 there. Okay, and we know that the Y value, if the X value is 2, then we know the Y value is 1, right? So Y minus 1. So the only thing that I need now is the slope. Okay, now remember, we're going to use the formula for the slope. Okay, so I want the slope for the inverse. Okay, so if I want the inverse, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 over G prime of X. Okay, all right, well, we've got that chart there, and we have G prime, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the X value of 1, because this represents, let me just kind of get my little pointer going here again, okay, this represents G's derivative, and the X value of G. I'll say that again. G's derivative, and the X value of G. So that means we're going to use this X value right there. Okay? All right. So then what that means is we're going to go over here, and really what I'm figuring out is 1 over G prime of 1. Well, you've got a chart there. Go to G prime, follow it down to where X equals 1, and then you'll see that its Y value is 5, right? So then that means that this is 1 over 5, and there's your slope. Alrighty, so we have 1 over 5 goes here, X minus 2, we can bring that down, and we can bring Y minus 1 down. Okay, and there's the equation of your tangent line. Okay, the last one. Yay! So we have f of x, right? And that equals x cubed minus x minus 6. And they say the g and f are inverses. So here we go again. All right, now they're talking about finding f prime of g of 0. Okay, and then we want to multiply that by g prime of 0. All right. So then what that means is, remember, f and g are inverses, okay? And they gave us that g's x value is 0, which means f's y value would have to be 0, right? Okay, well, all we have, though, is the f equation. So we can do x cubed minus x minus 6, and we know its y value is 0. Again, I would just take the calculator, plug it in your y1, and see where your zeros are, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to end up, take my word for it, but do try it, okay? You'll get x equals 2. So I'm going to put 2 in for the x value for f and the y value for g. Good? All right, so let's go back over to what it was that they're asking us to find over here. So, well, let's just look at this first. Well, g of 0. Well, that's easy enough because g of 0 should be the y value that corresponds to the x value of 0 in the g equation. So g of 0 would be 2, right? All right, so then let's go over there, and we're going to make that a 2. Okay, and I'm just going to bring down that f prime. All right, so then let's look at g prime of 0. Well, I know that g prime of 0 is equal to 1 over f prime of 2, right? Because that's the rule for inverse. You just make those parentheses a little bit bigger. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously have to find f prime, and I'm going to plug in 2. All right, so let's put this over here. So f prime is going to be 3x squared minus 1. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 2. So that's going to be what, 11? Okay, so then when I come over here, I know that that's 11. And I know this is 1 over 11. Oh, okay, so that is just going to be an answer of 1. And ta-da, you are done. Okay? All right, good luck, guys. I hope everything goes well over this little, trip that you're taking, and sing your brains out. Bye.